would like to call to order the November 17th, 2015 meeting of the Riverton City Council Finance Committee to order at 6:48 p.m. The chair would entertain a motion for the consideration of claims.
Your Honor, I'd like to request a motion to pay the following bills. $612,653 payroll and liabilities for November 11th in the amount of $498,484.09 for a total of $1,111,137.19.
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded. Does anyone have any questions about the bills?
I don't.
Okay, neither do I. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Stephen, is there any further business?
Was there any questions about the income statement overview? It really wasn't attached there, but it was on, I think, the weekly report we sent out 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I didn't have any.
Okay.
I think we're good. Okay, meeting adjourned.
I now call the November 17th, 2015 regular meeting of the Riverton City Council to order at 7 p.m. Would Councilmember Peterson lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and if we could remain standing, I'll offer an invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the opportunity we have to serve on the City Council and pray that in our proceedings tonight that we'll be able to keep in mind the issues that come before the citizens of Riverton and keep their welfare in mind. We're thankful for the nice community in which we live. And pray for thy Spirit to guide and direct us as we try to lead. And we do it in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Would the city clerk please call the roll?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilwoman Holly Gibbon.
Here.
Councilman Sean Peterson.
Here.
Councilman Kyle Larson.
Here.
Councilman Lee Martinez.
Here.
Councilman Martin Canan.
Here.
Mayor John Lars Baker.
I am present, and I would entertain a motion to excuse Councilmember Bailey from tonight's meeting.
Your Honor, I make a motion that we excuse Councilman Bailey.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Mayor votes aye, and I declare that we have a quorum. The chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda. Seconded.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Mayor votes aye. Communication from the floor, citizens' comments. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council regarding an item that is already on the agenda will be given an opportunity to speak later on. I would ask those individuals who wish to address the council at this time to approach the podium and identify yourselves for the record.
Sheldon Buckingham with Fremont County Racing Association.
Okay, I think I've got you on the agenda.
Oh, I thought you said if we are on the agenda.
Yeah, I'll get you up here in just a minute, Shelby. Thank you. That's all right. Anybody else want to, anything that we don't understand need to be corrected on? Okay, I would, would the city clerk please read the consent agenda by items by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Approval of the minutes November 3rd, 2015 regular council meeting. Approval of the minutes November 17th, 2015 Finance Committee meeting. Approval of Finance Committee recommendations for November 17th, 2015. And approval of the municipal court report for the month of October 2015.
Are there any items requiring further discussion?
Your Honor.
Ms. Gibbon.
recommendations from the Finance Committee to pay the claims in the amount of $612,653.10. Payroll liabilities for 11/11/2015 in the amount of $498,484.09, for a total to be paid in the amount of $1,111,137.19.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Mayor votes aye, and the motion passes. Next item of business is Fireman Citizens Award presentation by Renford Smith.
I'd like to thank the City Council for this time. My name's Renford Smith. I'm the VFW Post Commander of Post 3628 here in Riverton. And these are some of our members here. Tonight, we'd like to present a couple special citations, and we appreciate this time. As everybody knows, not long ago, we had a tragic accident happen with one of the county fire officers. And Speed was also a member of the VFW Post. So as we tend to take care of our own, we'd like to do that the same way. If I could ask Deputy Ditmore. I'd like to say thank you on behalf of VFW and the members here. It says, in grateful recognition for unyielding adherence to the highest ideals of law enforcement and maintaining, preserving, and protecting the lawful rights of the citizens. From VFW Post 3628 and the auxiliary. I'd like to also extend our thank you from our auxiliary for saving one of our own. Chief? We don't forget you. And you're a vet too. To the Riverton Police Department, we'd like to present this plaque for the grateful service that you've given and members of your department. Ryan, it's the same pleasure. Members of the Sheriff's Office, you guys have been supportive of us, and now we're going to be supportive of you and every one of your guys in your department, well, office, as you're called. We'd like to say thank you. Same citation we read earlier.
Thank you
To
very
the members
much.
of your department.
Thank you, sir.
Not a problem.
For your support.
Thank you, Ryan. EMS Director. And this is the Fremont County EMS, which is kind of dear to my heart, all the years I've been in. Special recognition and exemplary service to humanity by administered emergency medical services to the Fremont County EMS from VFW Post 3628 and its auxiliary. We'd like to say thank you. And young man, thank you for taking care of Speed while you took him to the hospital.
Thank you.
Scott, to the Riverton Fire Department, you're the chief, so you represent them like I represent our department. In special recognition, the highest praise for alertness, personal courage, and efficient guardianship of life and property. Thank you to the Riverton Fire Department.
Tilt the flag. Yeah, there we go. Thank you, got it.
You're welcome. We had for the Fremont County Fire District, but unfortunately, those guys just come back from Florida. We'd also like to special recognition, Mike, one of our veterans. John, you retired E7. Colonel, thank you. We'd like to thank the members of this council for letting us present these tonight. It's been an honor and pleasure, and we want to work with you guys in any way possible to help the veterans in this county.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. We appreciate your coming.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, The next item on the agenda is the Motocross Track of the Year Award presented by Fremont County Racing Association.
Hi, we're the Fremont County Racing Association. It's been a tradition with us to hand you guys the awards we give for the Track of the Year. So we wanted to continue that this year and kind of let you guys know what we're up to up there. We got beat out the last 2 years. So this year we did some fundraising and had a specialist come in, help us out up there a little bit. We've been injury-free the last 3 years racing now. So we're pretty proud of that we've kept it safe and we've had a pretty decent track up there. So we just wanted as a club to present these awards to you guys.
Great, thank you. Tell us your name again.
Sheldon Buckingham, I'm the president. And then Heather Buckingham, the secretary. Zarek Prosser.
Okay,
Anna and Brady, they're members, helping us
good,
present the awards.
good. Thank you, Sheldon.
Thank you. Would I give these to?
Bring them up here to me and I'll shake your hand, okay? Okay, and we'll hang them on the wall someplace for everybody to look at, okay? Oh, okay, so it's time to hold the plaques, and you hold that one and I'll hold this one and shake your hand, okay? All right. Yeah. All right. Another one? Another one?
One more, yeah.
Okay.
You need a cough drop.
No, it's like that for motorcycle.
Oh, is it?
Too much yelling and screaming, huh?
Crushed it when I was about 15 on the
did ya?
handlebars, so one of my vocal flaps is paralyzed.
Uh-huh.
That's why I do it now, try to keep it safe.
Good.
Have fun.
Thank you, Sheldon. The next item of business is the mayor's proclamation for Small Business Saturday. And so I'll read this proclamation. Whereas the government of Riverton, Wyoming celebrates our local businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community, according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are currently 27.9 million small businesses in the United States. They represent 99.7% of American employer firms, create more than 2/3 of the net new jobs, and generate 46% of private gross domestic product, as well as 54% of all U.S. sales. And whereas small businesses employ over 55% of the working population in the United States, and whereas 89% of consumers in the United States agree that small businesses contribute positively to the local community by supplying jobs and generating tax revenue, and whereas 87% of consumers in the United States agree that small businesses are critical to the overall economic health of the United States, and whereas 93% of consumers in the United States agree that it is important for people to support the small businesses that they value in their community, And whereas Riverton, Wyoming supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our neighborhoods. And whereas advocacy groups, as well as public and private organizations across the country, have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday, now therefore I, John L. Baker, Mayor of Riverton, do hereby proclaim November 28th, 2015 as Small Business Saturday, and urge everybody to go to town on Saturday and buy something local so that we can support our local businesses. And I'll sign that today. Economic development starts at home by supporting the stuff that we have and trying to keep the existing businesses healthy. The next item of business is Resolution 1325, designating the First Interstate Bank as an official depository. Could we have the city clerk's report, please?
Yes, Your Honor. For the information of our newly elected officials as well as the viewing public, this resolution is designating an official depository of First Interstate Bank. As you may or may not recall, we usually do that the first of every year. It's a statutory requirement that we do it the first of every year. This bank, however, their corporation, will not kneel to the city of Riverton and do it the 1st of January. They did it the 20th of January. I missed that. And so now I'm asking you to designate them as an official depository because we do have $1,100 in that bank.
Okay,
So thank you, sir.
thank you. I would entertain a motion for the approval of Resolution 1325.
Motion to approve 1325, designating First Interstate Bank as an official depository of the city of Riverton.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor, I
Please.
have one question here. On this resolution, how long is this going to last?
Your Honor,
Go ahead.
we'll have to designate depositories again in January, so I will include that in the list in January to make sure that's with everyone else.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor votes aye and the motion passes. The next item is Resolution 1326, opposing the legalization of marijuana in the state of Wyoming. City Administrator's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. A ballot initiative is being proposed for November 2016 general election to legalize medical marijuana in the state of Wyoming. By February 8th of 2016, 25,673 verified signatures are needed, and 15% of those voters in at least 2/3 or 16 of Wyoming counties. The city received an email from Campbell County Sheriff inviting other communities to adopt a resolution that was passed on October 20th, 2015 in Campbell County. When you review the resolution, the focus is on how the effects of marijuana on youth. The resolution states that marijuana users' rates have risen substantially since 2007, with more youth in treatment for marijuana abuse or dependence than for use of alcohol and other drugs. Any tax revenue from marijuana sales would be insignificant in comparison to its social and health expense. In addition, it states that the city of Riverton does not believe that we would promote industry that relies on additions for profits. This resolution is only a statement from the city of Riverton. Ultimately, it would be up to the voters to decide if they get the necessary signatures in February. A few things to point out with the ballot initiative. The first is the Wyoming Department of Revenue Liquor Division would regulate marijuana. The second is there's no local control. Unlike Colorado, this is a statewide initiative which precludes cities from opting in or out. For this reason, WAM has opposed to the initiative, but the WAM board voted to make it up to individual cities to decide how they wanted to make a stand. The taxation issue, it's got restrictions. This initiative doesn't allow for any increased taxes or license fees to offset the costs, which surely will accompany any legalization of marijuana. The Department of Revenue Director Noble from Wyoming estimated a financial loss if marijuana is legalized under the current allowable tax structure. Staff believes this is the first step to get the actual goal of recreational use. Staff also believes we should not rush to get this legalized. We have a perfect opportunity to allow the experiment taking place in Colorado to develop information and more time so we truly understand the impact of any legalization we'll have here. So it's staff recommendation to approve Resolution 1326.
The chair would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to support 1326, opposition to legalization of marijuana in Wyoming.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor, do we have any figures on the cost? You know, we went through those figures of 15% of those, you know, and the numbers of, do we have any idea what the cost is to the society?
Your Honor, I don't have the specific numbers. I know that the Department of Revenue looked at that and they figured out the costs, and that's why they said it would be a loser, meaning that Wyoming would not benefit from it. Because I know in Colorado they were stating that they were going to actually gain revenue from this. When
That's
in
not
fact,
true.
yeah.
There are millions that they're making on it. They're overspending on their health care by millions.
That's right.
George, would you like to talk on this?
I'd like to make a statement. Don't know if this is in order. My name's George Wright. I'm a citizen of this community, and I'm opposed to the legalization of medical marijuana. It's a step to get recreational use, and we need less dope users in our youth, and not more. And it's just a bad idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor votes aye. Motion passes. Consultant Selection Policy Agreement for Transportation Alternative Program, the TAP grant. Public Works Director's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. As you were all aware, WYDOT receives federal monies to support a number of transportation enhancement programs. One of these is the Transportation Alternative Program. This is a somewhat new program. Includes several older programs like the Safe Sidewalks and Safe Routes to School program. In accordance with Resolutions 1320 and 1321, the City of Riverton prepared an application to receive funding from the TAP program. And on October 21st, 2015, we received a notice of award for this funding. We're very enthusiastic, and we're actually one of the few communities that received the full funding that we requested. And we're very grateful for that. That being said, as a federally funded program, TAP requires that applicants for funding comply with federal policies and procedures. One of these policies is a consultant selection policy for professional and consulting services. So while the city has received a notice of award for its TAP application, WYDOT will not be able to prepare project or grant agreements until the city adopts certain policies, one of which is this consultant selection policy that conforms with federal policies. Using information supplied by WYDOT, city staff prepared a consultant selection policy for review and approval of the City Council, and that was attached in your packet. This policy will be used whenever consulting engineers, architects, surveyors, and other professionals are utilized for federally funded projects administered by WYDOT. In brief, this policy outlines the means by which consultant services are evaluated and selected by the City of Riverton. And pursuant to federal policy, these services will be strictly selected upon qualification, meaning fee structures will not be considered in the selection of a consulting firm until after the firm is selected based on qualification. Therefore, it is staff's recommendation that the City Council approve the consultant selection policy for projects using federal monies administered by the Wyoming Department of Transportation. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to adopt this policy selection agreement.
Your Honor, I make a motion that we adopt the consultant selection policy agreement for transportation alternative program, the TAP grant.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor, I have one question. Do you know of any other hidden agendas that we have to follow by the federal government to receive this grant?
Your Honor, there's one other policy that we're reviewing right now, and that's for Title VI, a non-discrimination policy. We actually have a policy in place currently that responds to non-discrimination and equal opportunity employment. We're just reviewing to make sure that we're compliant to the federal policy as well. We will be bringing any changes that might need to occur at the next council meeting, but it's likely that we already have that policy covered. So right now, we're just proposing this current policy so that we can administer and receive this grant.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor votes aye and the motion passes. Year-end construction review, Public Works Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. It's that time of year again, and it's one of my favorite times of year because by direction of the City Council and City Administrator, the Public Works Department is the steward for the infrastructure used by our tax-paying public. And we take that stewardship seriously. And when updates need to occur, we work, I think, very hard to make sure that we do the right updates at the right time to ensure that our public have a good infrastructure, roads, streets, water, sewer, for their use and for their benefit. So at risk of maybe tooting the horn of the Public Works Department, I wanted to do a bit of a bookend report. And it's not to toot my own horn, but the horn of my employees that work so hard on these projects. And, you know, through the year, or through the construction season and through the year, we come to you quite often asking approval to spend taxpayer money on projects. And as we go through the year, I think sometimes we forget how much work is going on in our community and how much our community is benefiting from these upgrades. And so I think it's important to take a moment at the end of the construction season and really highlight what improvements have been made. And it's not just a highlight to the city of Riverton, but I think it's a highlight to our local contractors and our local design firms. There are a lot of community stakeholders that take care of our infrastructure and are invested in these projects. So with that preamble, let's get to it. And I want to do this somewhat informally. If you have questions as we work through these slides, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm proud of this work, and I think it's something we can have a little bit of fun with. So here we go. 2015 construction season review. As you can see, we've listed here a number of projects and several funding sources that we're going to highlight. Obviously, the city of Riverton, Riverton Regional Airport, our 1% tax, which I can't underline how valuable that tax is for our infrastructure and the great benefit that we receive from it. And then also we need to highlight the Central Wyoming Skate Association. We know that they were engaged in a pretty important and significant project. Rather than highlight these, let's just go through it. But I do want to say that on this list, there is over $16 million that have been spent in our community. For the 1% project, a little over $2.6 million on that list of 1%. And from the others, well, excuse me, let me back up. The 1% is 1.6, and of the others is another million. So without counting the runway reconstruction project, there was $2.6 million spent on infrastructure in our community this year, which is a big deal, and I think it's pretty cool to see the commitment that we have from the City Council and from the community towards improving our infrastructure. Okay, the first project, it has to do with our Riverton water supply project. As you remember, we had some aging pumps at the treatment plant. The treatment plant was built in 1980, and the pumps were as old as the plant, and they needed to be updated. They were not efficient. They were costing more money for electricity than they needed to. It had hard starts. And so with the design of Burns and McDonnell and with the help of state lands and investment funding, we were able to replace these high service pumps at the treatment plant. You can see they were very corroded and in need of that replacement. This project in total was about $325,000, and it was a great investment and one wherein the city received a lot of help from grants to pay for it. Our next project is also in association with our Riverton Water Supply Project, and that's the tank security fence on the Airport Hill tank. And if you remember, we actually had a break-in before the before the fence was finished. And we had some youth break into the new booster stations there and caused a bit of damage. So it was important that we get this fence installed. Again, we received funding help from the state. This was through the Wyoming Water Development Commission. Burns and McDonnell was the engineering firm for this, and a local contractor out of Powell, Wyoming, was able to install this fence. A couple pictures for you. Our next one is actually ongoing and is about to finish up. This project is the Big Bend Ditch Improvement. This was part of the South Federal Reconstruction Project, as you remember. We had to handle all the new stormwater that was generated from the highway project and also comply with DEQ and EPA regulations, meaning we had to put the water somewhere and also give it a chance to handle overflows and also dissipate before entering the river streams. So the best solution was to run it down the Big Bend ditch and then build a detention pond for this structure. Some interesting facts. As you may remember, to make sure that this project came into bid, the city actually performed the clearing and grubbing that saved over $80,000 on this project. So city staff went out, cleared and grubbed the canal, and participated in this project with Jerry Bornhoff Construction, who received the award. Some interesting facts for this project: approximately 29,000 cubic yards of soil were moved for the detention pond, which is a pretty substantial amount of soil. So it's a great project. We've had great participation from the residents in the area, and we have a great contractor. And if you look, the day that you guys awarded this contract, we had a major rainstorm. This picture was taken that day, and we were flooding at the crossing of East Adams on the Big Bend. It was going into the Skaggs property, and you can see the difference between this and this. We were able to replace that culvert and solve a drainage problem that has been in place for years on end and was stressing out Miss Frankie Coburn to the max anytime it was raining. So we're happy that we can take care of that problem. This next project is something that I cannot take credit for, but I think it's important that we mention. This was through the efforts of the Central Wyoming Skate Association. I'm glad George Wright is here as a representative of that association. But I think we're all pretty aware of what happened and their ability to raise funds and get an amenity built for the youth in the community. Matt Wright obviously has an artistic eye. He took this photo. And just some interesting facts on this. Dreamland was the consultant who was hired to build the park, and they also contributed heavily on the design of the park. And through the coordination of the Central Wyoming Skate Association, many community volunteers had an opportunity to participate in this project and are now able to benefit from it. Our next project is something that we used for our miscellaneous water improvement line item in last fiscal year's budget. As you remember, we had a leak detection survey performed last fiscal year, and we put some money aside to repair any of those leaks that were found. And you know, one thing we learned from that leak detection survey was that our system is performing better than what we were expecting. The areas that we knew where there were leaks were identified by the survey, and we only identified a few others from that survey. The leaks that we did know, we didn't have enough funding to replace them, and so we had this miscellaneous water line item where we could make a capital improvement. And what we chose to do was replace about 16 non-working fire hydrants throughout town. This was a great project. It came into our budget, came in under time. We were able to get it in the last fiscal year. Velocity was the contractor for this project, and DR Concrete was the subcontractor. And we were able to do this at various locations throughout the city, including in front of City Hall. We replaced that fire hydrant. This is the big one.
Your Honor.
Go ahead.
On that fire hydrant, there were several in my area that were replaced. Not only did they replace the fire hydrants, the work that they did after completing the job, putting it back to standard, was very good. I mean, you can be proud of those people for the work they did.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Councilman, because we had a great contractor on that job. And we have several contractors in town that aren't there just to make a buck, but to improve the community, and that was a good example of one. You know, before we get into our 1% projects, let's talk about the airport project. This was the big one, and it's one that's been in the docket for over 10 years. In total, this will be a project that will cost over just under $14 million, I should say. And it was a successful project. It bid under what our projection was, and the construction up to this point is coming in under bid, which is a great thing when you consider how much work has been completed. I like this slide because this shows the extent to which this project went to improve our airport. The impetus behind the project was to fix a non-compliant runway that we had with runway 10. It was a gradient that was out of compliance. You know, the runway probably worked great before the reconstruction project, but we don't make the rules, and sometimes we have to follow them. And I think it's ultimately to the betterment of our community and to the safety of the flyers. So the main impetus was this section here. We had to lower it at one end approximately 12 feet, and that's a lot of soil to move. So to maximize the project, we were able to excavate a bit of material, place that fill dirt at the end of runway 19 to accommodate future expansion and future lengthening of that runway if it is so needed, which I do commend our engineering firm for the foresight they had. We were going to have a lot of excess material. Why not put it to good use? Other things accomplished from this project was we were going to take care of the rest of runway 28. There was a mill and overlay that occurred on this section of the runway. We constructed 3 new taxiways to better accommodate our flyers, and then rehabilitate the existing taxiways in place, including the new runway that we were getting on runway 10 and the refurbished runway on runway 28. We reinstalled and replaced all the lighting and signage along that, updated it to nice LED lights, more energy efficient lights, and more consistent with current standards. We didn't stop there. We were able to construct service roads throughout airport property. We seal coated the GA and commercial traffic area, these aprons, and also seal coated the taxiways. And then finally, because of the gradient change that occurred here, we had a need to replace our nav aids, the localizers and the reels. Those are federally owned, and those are actually being replaced as we speak. As federally owned, the FAA had to bid this part of the project out, and it's moving along, and we're going to be on schedule with that as well. The general contractor for the project was Bemis Construction, and I can't speak highly enough about them. I cannot speak highly enough about Javiation and their project management and design skills. But I want to highlight the number of subcontractors, because when you have a project of this size, it's not just the general contractor that benefits or the city. It brings economic development to our community, and a number of our local firms were able to benefit from this project. So to highlight the subcontractors, we had HK Contractors, Apex Surveying, Imberg Miller, Core Enterprises, Blue Mountain Seating, B. Jackson Construction, Miles Lawrence, Evans, Bosch Engineering, Maxwell Asphalt, and SWI LLC. It's a number of local firms and not local firms that benefited from this project. The non-local firms came, ate at our restaurants, stayed in our motels, and increased our economic activity in town. A couple interesting facts about the project, and these are some pretty good photos as you see looking down runway 10 to the gradient change. But There were 40,000 tons of asphalt placed on this project and 146 square yards of asphalt removed. That's a bit of asphalt. When I talked about removing that material and placing it at the end of runway 19, that was 751,000 cubic yards of material, a number that you can't even picture in your mind until you go out there and you see how much dirt was moved. I felt like it was a moving conveyor belt almost of material going through the summer, going from one end of the project to the other, and the organization that occurred in the logistics was pretty impressive. We have to say thanks to the number of people that helped. This handsome guy here is Paul Griffin. This is Tim Rhodes with Javiation. This is Brian with YDOT. Jesse Lyman, who's our FAA inspector and who really facilitated this project. And then this good-looking guy here is Jeremy Packer. He was our main project manager with Javiation, and again did a great job making sure this project ran well, came in under budget, and also on time.
You know,
All right.
Go ahead.
on that last scale, what was that bottom picture on the?
Oh, thank you. This is an example of the localizers that are going to be replaced. These are the old ones, and right now the pad has been poured for the new localizers, and we're waiting on parts right now for mobilization. They should be installed and finished by mid-December. The kicker is, in order for those to be usable, the FAA has to do a publication and flight check on them, and that is scheduled for February. So while we've got the project done, right now it's substantially complete. We have to wait for that publication date in order to use those new localizers and reels. That affects our nav aids during inclement weather, but it doesn't mean that our runway can't be used. If an aircraft has GPS navigation, they can still land on it, and they can still use some of our other nav aids that are in place. They just can't use those. So that's an example of what the FAA is working on right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was our big project. And I want to transition now into our 1%, and I do want to highlight the importance of the 1% tax and how grateful we are for it. Without that tax, our communities would not be able to see a lot of the improvements that are occurring. We just don't have the budget to do it. But with this dedicated funding source, that's money directly reserved that goes right back into the community, right back into the infrastructure, and I'm really proud of the work that we're doing. So we had a number of projects, and the first thing I want to highlight is right here. If you notice the engineering done by the City of Riverton. The City of Riverton did all of the engineering for these projects this year. That was money saved, that was efficiency, and I want to make sure that Dawn Wilhelm gets credit where credit is due, because she spent a lot of time engineering these projects and saving our taxpayers' money, and also making sure that we're more efficient in our operations. Okay, the first project is our Broadway Monroe Neighborhood Concrete Project. We organized our 1% projects this year by concrete improvements and then asphalt improvements. And we've got a bit of a method to our madness. We've been working on concrete a little bit over the last couple years. And what we're doing is we're laying a good foundation to now do full asphalt improvements as we move forward. So by the time that this comes up for vote again, we're going to see a lot of these streets that have had concrete improvement also have asphalt improvement. Thereby, we've laid a good foundation where drainage occurs, grade issues are repaired, and we can cap the asphalt and have a nice product for our community. So that's a bit of the phase one, and we're going to get to phase two coming up here with the next couple of fiscal years. So Broadway Monroe project. Great contractor in 71 Construction and a great subcontractor in Ellis Concrete. The project was bid in April 2015 and substantially complete in September of 15. Some interesting facts, 2,200 linear feet of curb and gutter were replaced on this project, and 46 handicap ramps were constructed. The streets that were worked on: North Broadway, South Broadway, East Monroe, and West Monroe. You drove by it every day, and I think we saw great work occur and a great contractor working on it. The next project was another concrete project, and that's the Rendezvous School Neighborhood Concrete Project. This was again to improve the infrastructure, drainage, and grade issues and ADA issues in that neighborhood. AAA Building Services out of Powell, Wyoming was the contractor, and they're just getting substantially complete now. They started in June of 2015. Some interesting facts: 2,300 linear feet of curb and gutter were replaced, and 16 ADA ramps were installed. And I feel very strongly that we need to make sure our community is walkable and accessible to those persons with disabilities, especially around schools. So these efforts we're making are important, especially for those that need the service. So where's the Rendezvous Neighborhood Concrete Project that incorporated 4th West, Elizabeth, Mesquite Circle, Sage Circle, Cactus, North 5th West, North 6th, and West Park. And we've received a lot of complaints, especially around the school administration building, that the asphalt is just falling apart. Well, now that we've improved the curb and gutter for drainage issues, we can work on that asphalt in years to come. A good road and a road that maintains has 3 principles: drainage, drainage, and drainage. If you get the water off the road and you get it out of the curb and gutter, you keep a good road. All right, our last concrete project was the East Purging ADA project improvement, and we did this project because we received a lot of specific concerns from our aging population and our population for persons in wheelchairs. And when we get those complaints, we try and prioritize them. We had a lot of people trying to get to the Safeway, trying to get to the banks, and so we did 7 ADA ramps. Our contractor was Ellis Concrete. Project was bid in May of 2015, and it took us all the way to September to do it. Why did it take so long to do 7 ADA ramps? Well, the reason being is because at one of our locations we had a CenturyLink utility box that had to be moved before we could do the ramp, and it took some coordination to do that. But I'm happy we got it moved, and I'm happy with the final product. This is an example of what we had before. This is what we have now. And can't speak enough about the contractor and the product we got. Our next one transitions us into our asphalt improvements, and the first of which is our North 1st Street resurfacing project. This is to increase the lifespan of our asphalt and curb and gutter there. We did an asphalt overlay, and we did some curb improvements and ADA ramp improvements here. Dave's Asphalt, another great contractor, another great local contractor, was our general, and then Snyder Concrete of Worland, Wyoming was able to do a lot of the concrete. This project was bid in April and finished in September, and some interesting facts: 450 tons of asphalt was placed and 6 handicap ramps were constructed. Great picture of the final product there. Our next one is North 16th East Street. Same type of project, concrete and asphalt overlay. Dave's was also awarded this contract and had the same subcontractor. It was bid in April, completed in September, and 1,403 tons of asphalt were placed and 21 handicap ramps were constructed. Now, I do want to commend our contractor on this because a lot of this work was occurring and finishing up during school time, and they were conscientious of working around school schedules, pickup times when parents are coming, and we didn't have any incidences of safety. So that's showing the conscientiousness of our contractors. Another couple pictures showing our final product. Okay. These last 2 projects I'm particularly proud of because we're bringing back asphalt preservation into our community. And asphalt lasts longer if you do measures to preserve it. And so the North Broadway East Pershing chip seal project was to add life to the current asphalt that we have, provide some structural strength. We know that those roads are going to get used more often in 2017 due to the North Federal project. 71 Construction was the contractor for this chip seal project. Contractor was PMI. Bid in July of 15 and finished in September. Interesting fact is 26,000 square yards of chip seals were placed. It's a pretty cool process if you didn't see it. You have a tack coat applicator go through after you've swept the road, make sure it's nice and clean. And then directly following that, you see the emulsified asphalt here, that tack oil, being followed by this applicator where the aggregate's applied. It's rolled in and then left and allowed to ravel off for some time. I think it's a great project, and it's going to provide some support to Pershing and Broadway. Our last one, again, is a chip seal project. This was for the Logan Park, East Logan Park, and Valley High servicing neighborhoods. 71 Construction was the contractor. Same bid time, same completion time. And this time we had 38,000 square yards of chip seals placed. and we were able to do a number of streets. So Sherry, Cascade, Westwood, Sierra, Shamrock, Bighorn, Moose, Elk, Buffalo, Deer, and Antelope were all taken care of during this project. And I wanted to show this pavement curve again. You're all aware of it, but what we're able to do is, as our asphalt's degrading, we can do these preventative measures, bump up that curve and extend the life of our asphalt. And we're gonna keep doing that. So those are our projects. That's our bookend report. And I know it's a lot of information to process, but that's a good thing. We were busy this year, and I think, again, my staff deserves to be recognized because we did a lot of work, and we did a lot of work prior to doing the jobs as well. And I appreciate the efforts of Don Wilhelm and Monty Nordwick, who's out there every day making sure we get a good product. That's it. That's what I got. Do you have any questions that I can help you with?
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council? I just know that almost every place you went in Riverton, something was torn up. So people obviously have got the idea that we were using that 1% sales tax money to fix the streets, right?
That's right.
Okay, I think we did a good job on it this year.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Kyle. City Council Committee Reports, Councilmember Roundtable. Mr. Canan, have you got anything for us?
Not specifically, sir, but I think if I remember correctly, about last year, when Mr. Butterfield gave us an update of the various street projects, I think we got that out to the public very well, and I would recommend that we do the same thing with the information he just gave us here tonight, that we find a way to get that out, especially so people can understand that, we're using that 1% tax and how important that is to fix their streets and keep their streets, up and running and in good repair. So when that initiative comes due again in, 2016, is it up? That again, maybe we won't have such an uphill battle getting that renewed.
Thank you. Mr. Martinez?
Your Honor, we had, on November the 4th, we had our meeting for the School District Number 25 Recreation Board, and we approved 2 grants, additional grants, one for CWSA, the Central Wyoming Skating Association, for $10,000 to, because they overspent, or they didn't have enough money to pay for everything that they wanted to do, so we granted them 10. And also the Art for Rec came in with wanting to move the ice skating rink to Tonkin Stadium, and from what I understand, they had a meeting with the city and the school district. We're waiting for the school district for looking at their liability, and we granted them $5,000. Then on Thursday, the 5th of November, we had our Region 4 meeting here, and we had a report from the solid waste director from Casper Landfill. And also we appointed the city councilwoman from Casper, Robin Mandel, to the legislative committee. But I just learned this week that she has resigned the city council position in Casper. So we will have to, at our next meeting, have to appoint a new WHAM board member and also somebody to the legislative committee. So the next WHAM board, next Region 4 meeting will be in February when we have the WHAM convention in Cheyenne. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Lee. Mr. Larson, any?
Your Honor, first off, I'd like to comment on the 1% tax projects. Since I've been the beneficiary of them, 16th East from East Park all the way to Redwood Road is the best I have seen it since I've been there since 2000. And Dave's Asphalt did the latest lay on it from Sunset all the way to Park, and that's beautiful. The only thing I don't like is that it's so good, I'm afraid that they're going to start racing on it. But we certainly have deserved and utilized the 1% sales tax for roads and sidewalks, just as we've said. We have not used it anywhere else, and that's unusual for politicians of any level. They always cheat. We haven't, and I hope that we can renew this tax, because all it does is we're just paying ourselves. We're making our roads better, our living standards are higher, everything just goes up with it. That's my first comment. Second comment is I attended the solid waste disposal meeting on Monday, and last time I reported on recycling that it was close to $1 million in recycling, and they've further reviewed that, and the actual cost is closer to $315,000 to recycle. Now, I'm not a recycler. My wife is. I'm not. But for that amount of money to keep pop bottles and plastic and all kinds of crap out of our landfills, if it's $314,000 or $15,000, I'm for it. So, and I hate to have my wife hear me say that, but geez, I just hate to see Wyoming turned into plastic receptacles. The solid waste has turned from being in the rears to having it for covering their landfills, which you have to budget forward for. They have changed from last year being in a negative field through the change of operation and trying to streamline and do a better job. They've changed their receipts to $7,476,000 versus last year of $4 million. So we're $3 million ahead, and that's because we have changed the way we're handling garbage. And we might bite our tongues when we see a garbage truck going to Lander versus out to Sandral, but it's making sense. And the sense is that they're not spending the money, and they've gotten $3 million from last year to this year. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Thank you. That's good news that their bank balance is going up,
Yeah.
and more than just what the city of Riverton is putting into the account.
Considerably.
So there must be another cash cow out there someplace besides us. That's good news. Mr. Peterson.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Had an opportunity to meet with the Splash Pad group after getting appointed to be their liaison. A very ambitious group of ladies. They got a lot of good ideas going on. They're going to do an open house town hall meeting on the 5th of December at 2 o'clock at the library. They're trying to invite as many community members as they can there to get input on what they think it's going to look like, the location of it, and stuff like that. So the more input we can get from the city, the more that people can get buy-in, and I think it'll be a great project. So we're really encouraging people to come out and have a say, be involved in it. And then they got fundraisers going. They're trying to plan fundraisers all over the place. They got a fundraiser going for the new year. They're going to do a splash into the new year, 2016 at the Holiday Inn. You can get tickets around a couple places around town. So. And if you want to volunteer and help out, get on Facebook and send them a message. They're always looking for people to help out and new ideas. So, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Gibbon?
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. City Administrator's report.
Yes, Your Honor, just an update for the citizens. Green waste is going to come to a halt for the season this Friday, so that'll be the last pickups. If people still have to get rid of green waste, they can call the Public Works shop and schedule an appointment and go deliver it any time during the winter. Also, construction on security glass will be starting this week in City Hall, so if people are coming in to visit us, there may be a little bit of disruption, but in the end, I think it'll be good. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just so you bring up the community dialogue.
Community dialogue, Thursday at 6 o'clock. It's going to be at Central Wyoming College at the Intertribal Center. And we're going to try to discuss race relations in Riverton, Wyoming a little bit. And the first couple of meetings kind of got hung up for one reason or another. And we're looking forward to actually getting this process started. And I think it'll be a good opportunity for all of us to try to mend some fences and maybe make some progress in our relationships with our neighbors. So there's going to be a little bit of food to eat there, not a lot, but if you can get by with a sandwich, we'll try to furnish a little bit of food. And we hope that it's a pleasant experience and that it will be the start of a series of discussions that will help us arrive at some kind of solutions. The beautification committee met a couple weeks ago, and we talked about the splash pad in the park and water features in the park and number of other things, and we've got some interest in what's going on in that regards to try to make Riverton City Park a fun place to go and be. And I think that I guess I'm happy to know that the airport project is done. I'm hopeful that will signal increased interest in an airline to improve service to Riverton. That seems to be a difficult thing to generate, but we're working on that. I'm really tickled at the report that we've got on the streets. You know, it was torn up a lot this summer, and now as you drive around, things are pretty well smoothed out and are looking nice. And the ADA ramps on the corners are great. I think we've made some really significant improvements to our streets. So it was a good summer from that standpoint. And do you have, Mr. Butterfield, have you got some projects online for next year?
Yes, sir, we do. Your Honor, if you'd like, I can give a rundown, or we can keep you in suspense for a year.
We'll have some more money to spend, right?
Your Honor, that is correct.
And so we're going to spend some more money next year. So we'll tear up a few more streets come 2016. Good. All right, thank you.
Your Honor,
Lee?
I'd like to make one more comment on this Region 4. I'd like to know sometime in the future how many council members are going to Cheyenne to the Wham Board Convention, the Midwinter Convention, and I'd encourage everybody that goes down to go to the Region 4 meeting, because we do have to appoint somebody to the board. And so we need everybody there for the vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Does everybody on council have kind of an understanding of how the Wyoming Association of Municipalities works? You know, mechanism of that. We're in Region 4, which is Natrona County, the cities in Natrona County and Fremont County, and so then we elect some representatives to the WAM board, and then those are the guys that you know, I guess do the heavy lifting during the year. Then we have this big meeting always in February in Cheyenne. It's always in Cheyenne, right, Lee?
Right.
That's because the legislature is meeting in Cheyenne. And if what WAM does is lobby. And so we're down there talking to legislators and trying to get information from them as well as give them our opinions. And one of the interesting things about WAM is that it's kind of like a school in the fact that we have an opportunity to go down there and go through a bunch of sessions that talk about public budgeting and finance at the state level, and how sales tax money is distributed, and, all those kinds of issues. And so by attending those sessions, you get credits, and eventually you get certified as a full-fledged city councilman, right, or something? Okay, and so it's an opportunity to get some really good board training, and I think it's a worthwhile endeavor to go, and the city does have a little bit of cash to help offset those expenses. So you're not traveling on your own dime to go do that. If you've got the time available to devote to it, it's worth the effort to go down. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Been moved,
Seconded?
seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye.